Hi, everyone. Can you hear us okay? Can anyone hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, great. All right. We're working on resolving it, but our camera might not turn on for this meeting, but if you can hear us all right, we're going to get started. In which case, Michael, if you can kick us off.
Good afternoon. I'm Michael Stern, Delegate for Controller Brad Lander, and Chair of the Audit Committee of the New York City Transitional Finance Authority. I would now like to convene a meeting of the Audit Committee. Rita, can you please call the roll for attendance?
Conducting the roll call, Jock Jiha,
David Womack for Director Jiha.
Preston Niblack,
Sarah Jaffe for Commissioner Niblack.
Brad Lander,
Michael Stern for Controller Lander.
Adrian Adams,
Hudson Dermer for Speaker Adams.
Tom Foley. Thank you. There's a quorum.
First item on today's agenda is the approval of the minutes of the committee's last meeting. The minutes have been circulated for the committee's review. Are there any comments or corrections? Hearing none, I'll call the roll for a vote. Mr. Womack, how do you vote?
In favor.
Mr. German?
In favor.
Ms. Jaffe?
In favor.
Mr. Killian is not here. And I vote in favor of the proposed resolution. The resolution approving the minutes is hereby adopted. The next item on the agenda is a presentation by Raymond Lee, the authority's controller, who will present the auditor's financial statements and introduce the authority's independent auditors.
Thank you, Michael. So in front of you have the fiscal year 2025 financials for the TFA. I'm just going to quickly give some highlights about the financial activities of the authority. In terms of revenues and expenditures, personal income tax revenue this year was $18.5 billion. That was an increase of $2.9 billion from the prior year. From that $18.5 billion, TFA retained $775 million for use for the authority's debt service and operating expenses. This year, the authority received $2.3 billion for its debt service prepayment from the city. That was a decrease of about $100 million from the prior year. Investment earnings went up by $147 million, which was an increase of $36 million from prior year, and that was primarily due to an increase in the funds available on hand to invest. This year, the authority distributed $7.9 billion of capital bond proceeds to the city, and that's a significant increase from the $1.3 billion from the prior year. As you may know, the authority has been issuing more bonds to help the city finance its continuing capital needs. The authority also paid $1.6 billion of principal and $2.2 billion of interest on its tax-secured bonds, and $216 million of principal and $357 million of interest on its BARBs. With respect with the BARBs, the building aid, and the building aid, you'll notice on page 8 of the financials, we talk about the building aid retained and how it's being accounted for presently. So just to give a high-level overview of how we record building aid revenue bonds and the building aid retention, because the city continues to have involvement with the building aid revenue process, GASB requires us to record the building aid pledge as a collateralized borrowing instead of what GASB calls a true sale. So what happens is when the authority distributes bond proceeds to the city, TFA records a receivable on its books, and the city will record a payable on its books. And this receivable and payable will be reduced over time as TFA receives building aid that it retains. In fiscal year 2025, that receivable reached zero. So, and on the city side, the liability would also be zero. Before the receivable reached zero, TFA would record these retentions as other financing sources. But after the receivable reached zero, the authority will record it as revenues, and you'll see that reflected as sort of split treatment on the income statement. And that's also why there's a building aid revenue line that shows $336 million in fiscal 25, and then zeros in 24 and 22. It's not that we didn't retain any building aid, it's just that it's in a new line needed going forward, unless we were to issue new building aid revenue bonds. Any questions on that particular point? So moving on to other items, this year GASB had two new standards in effect. The first was GASB 101, which was compensated absences. That did not affect the authority, as the authority doesn't have any employees and therefore no leave liabilities to record. The other was GASB 102, which is risk disclosures. There was nothing to disclose there, so it had no impact on the current year financial statements. Any questions overall on the financials? Okay, and none, I'll turn it over to Dan McAlee, who's with us from our auditors, CEDAS.
Sure, thanks. As Raymond mentioned, I'm Dan McAlee. I'm the senior manager on the audit. I've been the senior manager for a number of years. Jim Wilkinson is the shareholder on the audit this year. He's a new shareholder that we brought in for this year's audit. I'm not sure if he's on the screen. I don't see his initials up there.
I am here, Dan.
Okay, we can't see on this.
Take it away, though.
So we're excited to have Jim as part of the team this year. Jim heads up our governmental practice out of our New England office, has a lot of experience in this area. Then the other member of the engagement team, who most of you are familiar with, Warren Rupel. He's actually serving as the engagement quality reviewer, so the third-party concurrent reviewer on this year's engagement. And then the other team members are also listed there on slide 1. We had the same consistency in the audit team from last year, which made this very smooth. So just as an overall summary of the audit went very smooth. We're planning to issue the report tomorrow. There's just a few minor things that we're going to wrap up. I'll reach out to Raymond and Kenny to get those wrapped up. We had no weaknesses in internal control to report. We have no proposed audit adjustments. So that just shows that this is a very clean audit as usual. Raymond and his team take full ownership of the financial statements, prepare the financial statements. We have, maybe a few minor revisions here and there, but otherwise the financial statements, we really didn't have much changes on those. So it just gives, that this is a very good, clean audit. And we are prepared to issue a clean, unmodified opinion on the financial statements and on the investment compliance report, as well as a clean management letter with no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal control. Just on slide 3, I think you all have a hard copy. In terms of the timing, like I said, this is very consistent with prior years. And we're planning to issue this by tomorrow so that you can submit this to the city for inclusion in the city's financial statements. The audit results, as I said, we're basically complete at this point. We're going to get a management representation letter signed by David and Raymond, and then just updating some procedures through today's date, which we will do tomorrow. And then we'll be ready to issue our clean audit report, as I mentioned. Like I said, there was no fraud or illegal acts that we noted. Nothing that we need to communicate to those charged with governance in terms of anything unusual. Required supplementary information for TFA. This is the MD&A. So we actually don't opine on the MD&A, but we do read it for consistency with the rest of the basic financial statements, and we haven't noted any differences. So the other reports that we issue audit under AICPA generally accepted auditing standards. We also issue a separate report under government auditing standards. That's because the city requires that their financial statements are under government auditing standards. That separate report on government auditing standards is also a clean report with no findings to report. And then we also issue a separate report on investment compliance, which is also a clean report with no findings to report. Overall audit results, changes in accounting policies, like Raymond said, there were 2 new GASBs this year that had no impact whatsoever on the financial statements. And like I said, we didn't have any proposed adjustments, whether they were recorded or unrecorded. Really no disagreements with management, anything that we need to communicate to the audit committee. In terms of estimates and judgments inherent in these financial statements, there's really two, or I guess for this year, it's basically one. So you do an accrual for personal income tax receivable. That's offset by a corresponding personal income tax payable to the city, so it actually has no impact on your bottom line. But we do perform procedures. We looked at the methodology for determining the estimate, hasn't changed from prior years. We also confirm all the income tax receipts from the state, all the distributions to the city, all the building aid distributions from the state, all the distributions that TFA makes to the city. We found that estimate to be reasonable. The next slide talks about building aid due from the city. So like Raymond said, that's actually a zero balance as of June 30, 25, based on what Raymond just outlined. So there's really no estimate inherent for this year in terms of a receivable for building aid. That's the summary of the audit results. The other items that are attached is a draft of the representation letter that we're asking David and Raymond to sign. It's substantially the same as the prior year. It's already really been vetted by the legal counsel, so we're expecting to get that tomorrow so we can be able to issue the report. And then after this are drafts of the financial statements, the government auditing standards report, the investment compliance report, and our management letter. And the only thing I wanted to point out that our opinions on all these reports is clean, unmodified opinion. So no modifications. And that's the summary of the audit. So unless anyone has any questions.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Given none, we'll go on to the next item of the agenda, which is a resolution which would recommend to the Board of Directors the acceptance of the independent auditor's report on the financial statements and the issuance of financial statements for the fiscal years ended June 30, 25 and 2024. Are there any additional comments or questions for the auditors or for Mr. Lee? Hearing none, I'll now call the roll for a vote. Mr. Womack, how do you vote?
In favor.
Mr. German?
In favor.
Ms. Jaffe?
In favor.
Mr. Arakilian?
In favor.
And I vote in favor of the proposed resolution. The resolution is hereby approved. The next item on the agenda is a resolution to approve the committee's charter. The committee is required to annually review and approve its charter, which has been circulated to the committee for review. No changes are proposed at this time. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I'll now call the roll for a vote. Mr. Womack, how do you vote?
In favor.
Mr. German?
In favor.
Ms. Jaffe?
In favor.
Mr. Arakilian?
In favor.
And I vote in favor of the proposed resolution. The resolution is hereby approved. The next item on the agenda is a review of the committee's schedule of dates. The schedule of dates provides a guideline for items to be addressed at meetings of the audit committee. No changes are proposed at this time. This is a review item only. Are there any questions or discussion? No. If there's no further business before the committee, I will now call the roll for a vote to adjourn. Mr. Womack?
In favor.
Mr. German?
In favor.
Ms. Jaffe?
In favor.
Mr. Arakilian?
In favor.
And I vote in favor of adjournment. The committee meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all for your participation. We will now move on to the governance committee meeting, which Mr. Womack will chair.
Thank you, Michael. I'm David Womack, delegate for Budget Director GHA and Chair of the Governance Committee. I'd like to call this meeting to order by asking the roll to be called for attendance. Rita, please call the roll.
Conducting the roll call, Jacques Sheeha,
David Womack for Director GHA.
Preston Niblack,
Sarah Jaffe for Commissioner Niblack.
Brad Landers,
Michael Stern, Controller Lander.
Adrian Adams,
Hudson German for Speaker Adams.
Tom Foley.
Declan Arakilian for Commissioner Foley.
Thank you. There's a quorum.
Thank you, Rita. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the committee's last meeting. The minutes have been circulated for review. Are there any comments or corrections? Hearing none, call the roll for a vote. Mr. Stern?
In favor.
Ms. Jaffe?
In favor.
Mr. German? In favor. Mr. Arakalian? In favor.
And I vote in favor as well. The resolution is hereby approved. The next item on the agenda is a self-evaluation of the committee and the authorization to provide the results of that self-evaluation to the Board of Directors. The proposed resolution would express the committee's opinion that it is functioning in a satisfactory manner consistent with its charter and would authorize me as chair to present such opinion to the Board of Directors. The report of the committee's action taken the previous fiscal year has been circulated. Are there any questions?
Hearing none, call for roll for a vote. Mr. Stern?
In favor.
Ms. Jaffe?
In favor.
Mr. German?
In favor.
Mr. Eric Elliott?
In favor.
And I vote in favor as well. The resolution is hereby approved. The next item on the agenda is a review of the authority's compensation and benefits. This is a review item only, no vote is required. The information provided states the authority has no employees and describes the total compensation the authority reimburses to other entities for personal services provided to the authority. Are there any questions? If there's no further business for the committee, I'll call a roll for a vote to adjourn. Mr. Stern?
In favor.
Ms. Jaffe?
In favor.
Mr. German?
In favor.
Mr. Eric Elliott?
In favor.
And I vote in favor as well. Thank you. The committee meeting is now concluded. We'll move on to the Finance Committee meeting, chaired by Mr. Stern.
Good afternoon. I'm Michael Stern, delegate for Controller Brad Lander, and Chair of the Finance Committee of the New York City Transitional Finance Authority. I'll now call to order a meeting of the committee. Rita, can you please call the roll?
Conducting the roll call, Jock Jiha,
David Womack for Director GHA.
Preston Niblack,
Sarah Jaffe for Commissioner Niblack.
Brad Lander,
Michael Stern for Controller Lander.
Adrian Adams,
Hector German for Speaker Adams.
Tom Foley.
Declan Eric Kelly for Commissioner Foley.
Thank you. There's a quorum.
The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the committee's last meeting. The minutes have been circulated for the committee's review. Do any of the committee members have any questions or corrections? Hearing none, I'll call the roll for a vote. Mr. German, how do you vote?
In favor.
Mr. Arkalian?
In favor.
Mr. Womack?
In favor.
Ms. Jaffe?
In favor.
And I vote in favor of the resolution. The resolution is hereby approved. The next item on the agenda is a resolution which we recommend to the Board of Directors the approval of the 143rd Series Resolution authorizing the issuance of up to $1.7 billion of fiscal 2026 Series B future tax secured bonds. The current expectation is that the authority will issue approximately $1.5 billion of tax-exempt fixed-rate new money bonds, but a cushion has been built in to accommodate fluctuating market conditions. The not-to-exceed true interest cost is 6%. Seabrook will serve as the lead underwriter for the transaction. The expected institutional pricing date is October 1, 2025. The expected closing date is October 30, 2025. Are there any questions or comments regarding the proposed resolution? Hearing none, I'll now call the roll for a vote. Mr. German, how do you vote?
In favor.
Mr. Arkalian, how do you vote?
In favor.
Mr. Womack, how do you vote?
In favor.
Ms. Jaffe, how do you vote?
In favor.
And I vote in favor of the resolution. The resolution is hereby approved. If there's no further business before the committee, I'll now call the roll for adjournment. Mr. German, how do you vote?
In favor.
Mr. Arkalian?
In favor.
Mr. Womack?
In favor.
Ms. Jaffe?
In favor.
And I vote in favor of the resolution. Thank you all for your participation. The Finance Committee meeting is hereby adjourned. We will now move on to the Board of Directors meeting, which Mr. Womack will chair.
Thank you, Michael. I now convene the meeting of the Board of Directors. Read it, please call the roll.
Conducting the roll call, Jock Jiha,
David Womack for Director GHA.
Preston Niblack,
Sarah Jaffe for Commissioner Niblack.
Brad Lander,
Michael Stern for Controller Lander.
Adrian Adams,
Hector German for Speaker Adams.
Tom Foley.
Declan Eric Kelly for Commissioner Foley.
Thank you. There's a quorum.
Thank you, Rita. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the board's last meeting. The minutes have been circulated to the board for review. Are there any comments or proposed corrections? I'll now call the roll for a vote. Mr. Stern?
In favor.
Ms. Jaffe?
In favor.
Mr. German?
In favor.
Mr. Eric Elliott?
In favor.
And I vote in favor of the proposed resolution. The resolution approving the minutes is hereby adopted. The next item on the agenda is a resolution which would accept the independent auditor's report for the fiscal year 2025 financial statements. This action has been recommended by the Audit Committee after meeting with independent auditors and management. Are there any comments or questions? I'll now call the roll for vote. Mr. Stern?
In favor.
Ms. Jaffe?
In favor.
Mr. German?
In favor.
Mr. Eric Elliott?
In favor.
And I vote in favor as well. The resolution is hereby approved. The next item on the agenda is approval of the resolution authorizing the issuance of the authority's fiscal 2026 Series B future tax secured bonds. The resolution would approve the issuance of up to $1.7 billion future tax secured bonds. Approval of the resolution has been recommended by the Finance Committee. Are there any questions? Hearing none, call the roll for a vote. Mr. Stern?
In favor.
Ms. Jaffe?
In favor.
Mr. German?
In favor.
Mr. Eric Elliott?
In favor.
And I vote in favor of the proposed resolution. The resolution is hereby approved. Earlier this year, the next resolution is approval of bond and disclosure counsel agreements earlier this year in conjunction with the city and other related credit issuers. The authority, in conjunction with the city and other related credit issuers, participated in a competitive procurement process for bond counsel services. Following that procurement process, the selection committee recommended, with respect to the authority's future tax secured bonds, Norton Rose and Bryant Rubino LLP to serve as co-bond counsel, and Hawkins, Delafield and Wood LLP and D. Seaton Associates, PA, to serve as co-disclosure counsel. The selection committee also recommended, with respect to the authority's building aid revenue bonds, Catton, Muchin, Rosenman LLP and Bryant Rubino to serve as co-bond counsel, and Hawkins and Perlman Miranda LLC to serve as co-disclosure counsel. The selections were based on the quality of the firm's respective proposals and the reasonableness of the firm's respective fees. The proposed resolution would ratify and approve the authority entering into agreements with the listed firms for a term from September 1st, 2025 through August 31st, 2029, with optional renewals available at the sole discretion of the authority without additional approval from the board required for the period from September 1, 2029 to August 31st, 2032. Please refer to the proposed resolution for proposed fees for each firm during the initial and renewal terms. Are there any comments or questions on the proposed resolution? Okay, I'll now call the roll for a vote. Mr. Stern?
In favor.
Ms. Jaffe?
In favor.
Mr. German?
In favor.
Mr. Eric Elliott?
In favor.
And I vote in favor of the proposed resolution. The resolution is hereby approved. The next item on the agenda is a resolution which would approve the authority's mission statement and completed measurement report. Pursuant to Section 2800 of the Public Authorities Law, the authority is required to review its mission statement and the performance measures by which the authority can evaluate how well it is carrying out its mission and to publish a measurement report based on that evaluation. The Board of Directors previously adopted the mission statement and performance measures and subsequently amended both. No changes are currently proposed, and the measurement report has been completed. The proposed resolution would approve the mission statement and performance measures and authorize the authority to publish the completed measurement report. Are there any questions or discussion? I'll now call the roll for a vote. Mr. Stern?
In favor.
Ms. Jaffe?
In favor.
Mr. German?
In favor.
Mr. Eric Elliott?
In favor.
And I vote in favor of the proposed resolution. The resolution is hereby approved. The next item on the agenda is approval of the authority's investment guidelines, which the authority is required to review annually. No changes are currently proposed. Are there any comments or questions? I'll now call the roll for a vote. Mr. Stern?
In favor.
Ms. Jaffe?
In favor.
Mr. German?
In favor.
Mr. Eric Elliott?
In favor.
And I vote in favor of the proposed resolution. The resolution is hereby approved. The next item on the agenda is a resolution which would approve the authority's investment report. The report is compiled pursuant to the Public Authorities Law and contains investment guidelines, the independent audit of the investments, an investment income record of the authority, and a list of fees, commissions, or other charges paid for investment services. Are there any comments or questions? I'll now call the roll for a vote. Mr. Stern?
In favor.
Ms. Jaffe?
In favor.
Mr. German?
In favor.
Mr. Eric Elliott?
In favor.
And I vote in favor of the proposed resolution. The resolution is hereby approved. The next item on the agenda is a resolution which will approve the authority's financial responsible parties list. The authority is required, pursuant to Section 2799 GG2 of the TFA Act, to maintain a list of financially responsible parties the authority may contract with for insurance, letters of credit, and other credit or liquidity facilities related to its bonds. A black line has been provided to highlight changes from the previous year's version of the list. Are there any comments or questions? I'll now call the roll for a vote. Mr. Stern?
In favor.
Ms. Jaffe?
In favor.
Mr. German?
In favor.
Mr. Eric Elliott?
In favor.
And I vote in favor of the proposed resolution. The resolution is hereby approved. Pursuant to the Governance Committee Charter, Section 3, Paragraph 3J, the Governance Committee must at least annually conduct a self-evaluation and report the results of the self-evaluation to the board. As chair of the Governance Committee, I can report that the committee met earlier today, conducted a self-evaluation, and found that it is acting in a satisfactory manner consistent with its charter. If there's no further business before the board, I'll call the roll for a vote to adjourn. Mr. Stern?
In favor.
Ms. Jaffe?
In favor.
Mr. German?
In favor.
Mr. Eric Elliott?
In favor.
And I vote in favor of adjournment as well. The meeting is hereby adjourned, and that concludes today's TFA meeting. Thank you for your participation.